Hi, today I'm going to talk to you about stretchy wraps. Stretchy wraps are a really good starting point with a newborn. If you really don't like a stretchy wrap, then by all means you can try a different sling. But I would probably start off with this one and see how you get on first of all. And it's worth going along to your local sling library and getting somebody to help you put it on safely and comfortably if you are struggling. But this video is going to show you how to put it on safely, make sure that your baby's safe in it, and give you a few little tips along the way as well. Okay, so it's a long, big piece of stretchy fabric, and these are tested for baby use. So you can obviously just go out and buy fabric from a shop, but I would probably recommend that you buy one that's actually an approved baby sling. So there's a little logo in the center of most of them, and I'm just going to put that up on the center of my chest. And all that does is it means that I'm not going to be left with one end that's really short and one end that's really long, and I'm going to struggle to find somewhere to tie it at the end. Okay, so I'm going to put that in the center of my chest, and I am going to bring these up over my shoulder. And the way I do that is by taking my hand along the top rather than bunching it up like that. If you bunch it up, what can happen is it can get twisted on your back, and then it's a little bit harder just to tighten it and make sure it's nice and comfortable for you. Okay, so I'm going to show you what I'm doing then around the back. I take one hand up and bring it up over my shoulder. Okay, and I'm going to repeat the process on the other side. Okay. So at this stage, I am just going to make sure it's nice and snug. I am going to leave it so that it looks a little bit like a sleeve on my shoulder, but I'm not going to have it too far down my arm that it interferes with me lifting my arms up. Okay, and I'm going to bring both of those through that loop so that they are next to me, and I'm going to give it a good tug. And the reason I'm giving it a tug is to take some of the tension out of the, to take some of the slack out of the sling. And the reason for that is, if you imagine a sling is like an elastic band, and if you stretch it halfway, there's only so much further it can stretch. So you want to take some of the stretch out so that it's not really loose and baggy around your baby. You want a bit of support there. Okay, so at this stage then I'm going to cross these, come to the back and do a double knot. Okay, tighten nice and secure. If you're not as big as me, you might be able to come around to the front and tie it at the front, and that's fine. If you've had a cesarean section, it might be uncomfortable tying it over your wound, so you might just want to do it over to the side, and that's okay as well. It doesn't really matter where you tie it. The main thing is you don't want to have a big long tail that you're going to trip over. Okay, so I am going to bring this panel down out of the way, and now I have these two diagonal panels next to my skin. Okay, so if you can see, this one's underneath, so we're going to work with the one that's underneath first. Okay, so now I'm going to go get my baby, and I am going to put my baby up on the opposite shoulder to that one that's underneath. And you could just lift your baby up and put them into the sling here, but let's be nice and kind and gentle to our babies, and instead we're going to pull the sling down and out of the way, because it can do that. It can accommodate that quite easily. Slide the baby across into the center, and at this point I am going to bring that fabric right across my baby's back so that it's going from one knee to the other. Okay, like that. And then I'm going to bring my baby over to this side and repeat the process here. So I'm going to bring the sling down and around the baby and make sure that it's going from one knee to the other. So at this stage, your baby should really just be sitting under your chin. You should be able to bend down and kiss the top of their head. If you feel that they're a little bit high and you just want to bring them down ever so slightly, bring your hands in and just readjust. Okay, don't forget it's a stretchy wrap. It's got a bit of give. Now, what usually happens is, especially if you have a very small baby, quite often they just sit like a little frog with their wee knees up above their hips. But sometimes what can happen, and because this doll is a doll and not a baby, the knees are just a little bit lower than the bum. Okay, so what we're going to do is just adjust the baby's position so that the knees come above the bum. And the way you do that is you come in behind the baby and just tilt their pelvis in towards you. And that changes the angle that they sit in the sling. It brings their knees up above their bum. It is also going to change what happens with their head. So if they fall asleep and their hip angle just isn't right, quite often they either face plant you, so their nose and their mouth are sort of stuck right against your chest, or their heads flop back a little. So if your sling is nice and firm across their back and you've got that nice pelvic tilt, what's going to happen when they fall asleep is they're just going to lie with their chin on your chest, but their nose and their mouth will be free. And that's the perfect position. They'll be able to breathe really easily in the sling. Most babies like having their little hands up next to their face. So if their little hands have got trapped down the side, you can just bring their hands up so that they're up next to their face, and that keeps them nice and calm and settled. This stage then, I'm going to pull this other panel up and over so that it covers my baby from the neck down. Okay, so I've got 3 layers of fabric now supporting my baby from the base of the neck right down across the hips. Now you can leave the little feet in if you want, so that you might want to do this in winter. In summer though, you can just leave the little legs free. Okay, so as you've noticed, this little baby is looking a little bit like this. If you're concerned and you think, oh, I'd like my baby to be able to get a little bit more air around them, you can just fold that layer back, and then that just gives them a little bit more space in and around their face. If your baby falls asleep or you're out, you can just tuck their head in as well. Always just make sure that their face is free. In this position, their back's well supported, their knees are above their hips, close enough to kiss, and they should be nice and happy in there. You can leave them in indefinitely in a sling, although you'll probably find that you have to lift them out for nappy changes and for feeding. So you can leave this on all day and just take them in and out. It's really handy if you're going out somewhere. You can put it on before you go out, get in the car, and then when you get out of your car, just put your baby in. And to take your baby out, you just reverse the steps. Okay, so I'm going to take that panel down. I'm going to pull these away from my baby slightly and just lift my baby out. And there you go. You see that's still left there. So if you wanted to, you could just leave that on, do whatever you need to do with your baby, and then put them back in. So you do have a little bit of work to do when you first put it on. You can leave it on all day, and then you don't need to keep tying it back on again. So I hope that was helpful. My next video is about ring slings, and they can be a really useful sling for newborns as well. Thanks.